This is my August update. It's already the 3rd or 4th or something of September, so I'm a little bit late. I've been dragging the chain a little bit. It's called. Righto, the August update. I think I've had a pretty good month. Let's turn this around and have a look at the aeroplane. Okay. Now, I don't expect you to notice a whole lot of things straight off the top. I've added this panel at the back here. We just work from back to front. I've added this panel at the back so I can bolt down some extra ballast if I need to. I may need to, I may not. We'll have to wait until the aeroplane's covered and we start doing the weight and balance before we can work that through. The extra batteries for ballast are still in there at the moment. I've got one battery that's halfway decent and I've been using that for testing and so on. As you can see, the turtle deck's on the floor over there. It's not installed yet. That's this morning's job. Straight after I finish making this video, I'll go about installing the turtle deck. The radio rack has been wired and the radio has been installed. It's not installed at the moment. The radio rack's going to be mounted on the back of the front seat. I can see it. It clears the control column and so on. So that'll work fine over there. But yeah, all the sockets have been installed for the headset plugs. Oh, on the subject of the headset plugs, the microphone in my helmet that I normally use on the Renegade passed away. So I've got to troubleshoot that, make sure that it's not, whether it's the cabling that runs to it or whatever. One of my neighbours had the same type of helmet, so I'll see if I can borrow his helmet to do the troubleshooting. Let's just make sure we catch up with where we are. The control columns I've started. These leather hand grips, I'm making them myself, obviously. This is pretty much identical to what's in my RV6, and it works. It's worked there for 2 years or whatever it is. Oh, that's the point. The RV6 had a birthday last week. 22 years, yeah. Yeah, so we're working our way forward. We got to the radio rack installed, or wired and everything else. So it does work, transmits fine. What some people call my dog bowl here at the this is where the air filter sits. In that, this is a stainless steel bowl, mixing bowl for cooking. It's been attached to the firewall to allow the carburetor and air filter to sit inside the aeroplane, basically. Well, guess what? I can't get the filter off. Without taking the engine out, I can't get the filter off. So I've added an extra bowl, this one here. It's screwed on. Now these screws will be, really quite difficult to get out. It'll mean laying in there, taking the seats out and laying down in here somewhere inside the fuse, so that you can get, there's 5 screws that hold it on. To take those 5 screws out and and take the air filter off for cleaning. So that'll be a bit of a pain. The throttle and choke cables have been run. This is them running through here, exiting on this side. The The ignition units have been installed, one on the right one and the left one. The wires have sort of been run to where they're going to go, but they're not installed properly yet. I want to install there'll be a cowling goes over this, like I'm calling it the accessory section, that runs pretty much from the turtle deck down to about there somewhere, about where the engine mounts attach. I'll show you more on that in a minute. Not much else has happened up forward here. Let's go around the other side and have a look. Well, I had the battery charger on, charging this battery up. The battery's probably sufficient, but I will buy a new one. It's probably okay. Oh, I decided to paint the this sub panel. It's the colour. I'm coming to terms with the colour. It's growing on me. On this panel, you have the master switch. Yeah, that's the solenoid over there. That master solenoid. So you've got master switch. You've got the two ignition switches, left and right. Remember I had a key in here? Well, you can't use that. It's only going to work with a magneto. But fair enough, okay. So delete the key operated switch and install these two. Of course, I've got the USB outlets. Can't go anywhere without those. It's probably a bit of wishful thinking. There's three switches. You might be able to see from underneath. Yeah, there we go. There's three switches here. The first one is the fuel pump, which is in and wired. Second one's the radio, which is in and wired. And the third one will be for lights. They're really probably going to be LEDs. I haven't bought the lights yet, but they're probably going to be LEDs, and they're really for visibility. They're really so that other aviators can see me coming, basically. Okay, we've got Hobbs meter, voltage meter, a start button, because I took the key switch away. I need a device for turning the engine over. The start procedure with these radials is once you've wound it through a few times by hand to make sure there's no hydraulic locks in the lower cylinders, because that is a problem that radials tend to suffer. You then hop in and you wind it over with the starter button. When you're happy that the engine will turn over and isn't going to suddenly come to an abrupt halt because there's oil in one of the cylinders, you can then flick on the two ignition switches and away you go. This is the fuel selector. It's in the right position at the moment, pointing towards the right tank. You'll have an auxiliary tank in that position and a left tank in that position. And off is facing downwards. So it's a 4-position switch. That'll work fine if you can turn it. And of course it's got no fuel in it or anything like that. It hasn't had fuel in it, so it's as stiff as a board. And then of course you've got the circuit breakers at the bottom here. So that's about it for that little panel. It'll work a treat. Most of this dangle of wires here to connect up to the instruments, which of course you can't do until I put the turtle deck on, and that'll be this afternoon after I finish making this video. Here's the turtle deck over here. We might as well look at that now. both instrument panels are sort of installed. Some of the instruments are left out so that I can get to the back of the other instruments to wire them. But that'll happen this afternoon. Of course, I don't know whether you saw the ground plane up this way or not. This is the ground plane for the antenna. And the ground plane needs to be connected to the airframe as well. So there you go. This side of the engine is the same as the other side. Oh, I've wired the alternator, and this ignition unit is the same as the other one. It hasn't been connected up yet. This looks like a fairly heavy aluminium plate. Well, it sort of is because it's also a heat sink. This device here apparently runs fairly warm, so there's a heat sink there. If necessary, I'll pipe cooling air to both of them. Okay, so that's pretty. Oh, the pitot plumbing has been installed, which is, well, that was probably installed last month, but also the tubing that actually runs to the instruments has also been installed, and it'll be plugged in and clamped on with these homemade clamps that I'm using in the rest of it. They will look something like that when they're done. Yeah. Okay, so the oil tank for the radial, I've mounted inside the firewall. Now, you probably think, well, hang on a minute, that's counterintuitive. If you know, what if the oil catches light? Well, if you can get the hundreds of degrees required to set oil on fire, then I think you've got more problems than you can point a stick at. This oil tank has this end fitting is a vent. The oil tank is vented. So I will run a hose from there down through the floor, and then you're going to love this part. You're absolutely going to love it. Where I connect up to this piece of garden sprinkler arrangement, complete with garden fittings, which is just polythene pipe for putting in your garden to water your plants. It runs underneath the floor. This is it running here. Oops, there it is. Underneath there. And turns to metal and exits down here next to the tail wheel. One of the issues with radials is they tend to leak oil all over the place, and you can see there's the dirty drip tray, but there's oil in the drip tray. That's not a bad. I moved that just a few minutes ago. That should be up here. That's not a bad effort since the engine has only been test run at the factory. It doesn't get turned over or anything. It's just oil residual basically. So I can't wait to have it running. See how much oil we leak then. Now over here step one is you'll probably notice the bench is a hell of a sight cleaner than it usually is. It's covered in a piece of clear plastic just to try and keep it a little bit nicer. I've got the first lucky contestant here waiting to be covered in this rudder. I've rounded up my roll of fabric. Yeah, so it's ready to go. I've got a cutting, whatever that's called, for making dresses or whatever you use it for. But it also cuts fabric really nice. My sister gave me a cutting device for cutting fabric, and yeah, so long as I don't lose a finger or something, that should be good. But this is next month's episode. Hopefully, I can not only show you this rudder, but show you a lot more stuff that I've done. That's the radio over there in the box. It'll have to be put away somewhere. This electrical stuff is left over from the previous jobs. And one last thing to point out, I suppose, is that there's a missing RV6 there. See, you can't see it at all, really. It's been moved to the hangar next door, where it'll live for a while, because I want to rig the Renegade properly and install there's a fairing that goes between the two upper wings. I want to install that, like this one with the cameras all over the place, the camera mounts on it. I want to install that. I just have a hard time with these self-tapping screws. No, mine will have proper anchor nuts and be actually installed, properly. Same with these intersect fairings as well. These intersect fairings will be installed properly. They're over there somewhere. They're in the hangar here somewhere. So I want to do those, and then pull the aeroplane apart and start covering the wings. I don't want to. I can't install anchor nuts after the wings are covered. These are the components that are still awaiting their turn to do whatever comes next, which is probably covering. Now, the engineering shop did make up these couple of rings for me. There's a small one there near the opening, and a bigger one a foot or so back from it. Yeah, that's I've been waiting on those. I had been waiting on those. Over here on the engine, that small one will be installed down here somewhere, and the big one will be installed up the back here somewhere. So this cowling will come up and hopefully try and line up with the turtle deck once it's on, which is why I haven't really progressed on that. I want the turtle deck on first, which is this afternoon's job. So that's about it. That's where. Oh, while the wings are back on again, I'll bend these fuel. These are the fuel lines. I'll bend them over to match the fuel outlets on the two fuel tanks. So that should hopefully only take a few minutes. But anyway, that's still work to be done. And I think that's probably about it. Well, I haven't really been flying the Renegade all that much. I've flown it a few times, made a couple of videos. I came to a bit of a halt when my microphone failed. So I'm going to have to go back to plan A, which is my David Clark's that are on a a canvas helmet. Looks horrible, looks stupid, but it works a treat. And that microphone does work. So there you go. That's my fluffy headset with the sheepskin, complete with sheepskin covering to stop getting brain freeze when you're flying. The weather's starting to come good here at the moment, so hopefully I won't get too much brain freeze from it. But a couple of years ago, when I didn't have a helmet, and I used to fly with that, yeah, it was pretty bad. The we'll get you around this way. Looking to the future, um, I'm wanting to go for a bit of a fly in the RV, and it'll be soon. It'll be in the next, well, within the next couple of months, and it's a couple of thousand nautical miles um, in Australia, and I'm really just seeing if you're interested in having a look at where I go and what I do and that sort of thing. So there'll be whatever half a dozen fuel stops or something to go a couple of thousand miles. So yeah, if you let me know if you're interested in doing that, and I'll take this camera along with me and talk you through what I'm doing. If anything, if you're not interested, well, don't worry about it, and I won't bother taking the camera. I'm happy with that. But anyhow, that's my August update and the start of September. I'll try and get this out to you pretty soon. There's a previous video that I've just uploaded about the Antiquas. The Antiquas were here in Temora. I saw 4 tiger moths, and of course we've got 2 already here, so would have been 6 tiger moths on the field. A bit short of the 99 that were stationed here during the Second World War, but it was good to see. They a lot of them would be stationed at one particular place, a little bit north of Sydney, and to get here they've got to cross some pretty horrible country, and they've got to be sure that they're going to be able to get back across that horrible country to get home again. So I guess that would have slowed a few of them down on appearing. But it was a good weekend. Everybody was happy. I think we had one tiny little failure when the guy with the poor knee was fueling up. One of his bungees broke, and he had to call his home base and get some new bungees, and they flew a complete gear leg up, jacked the aeroplane up, and chucked a whole new gear leg on with the bungee attached, and there you go, fixed. Took a couple of hours total. So yeah, that was the only crazy thing I heard of for the weekend. But yeah, that's it. That's not much else going on. I know it doesn't look like I've made a lot of progress, but I'm actually pretty happy with the progress I've made. It's if every month was that much progress, I'd be fairly happy, because it's all good progress. A lot of stuff you see is I've done something, but I've got to pull it apart again and do something and redo it. And you do that when you're building aeroplanes. You do that 3 or 4 times. You're pulling things to pieces and putting them back together again. But the things I've done now are done permanently. There's no more pulling apart. And the same with this turtle deck. When it goes on later on today, it will stay there. It'll go on, and that's it. So I've got to make sure that the front seat belts will fit, and that I can do them up, and I've got to be able to take them out again. So I've got to be able to install them, and because I need them out so that I can paint the turtle deck. I don't want to paint it yet. I want to paint the whole aeroplane at once. So yeah, there's still a little tiny bit of pulling apart and putting back together. But yeah, that's the fun part. Okay, well, I will make another couple of videos this month maybe, and keep an eye out for those. But definitely I'll see you at the end of September, and you can see the progress on this. Don't forget, if you want to see this trip that I'm thinking about doing, just let me know, and we'll work out what sort of things you want to see and that sort of stuff. So don't expect to see me out in the outback chasing kangaroo. I will be out in the outback. I'll be in, designated, almost in designated remote areas where yeah, if you get lost there, I mean, it'd probably be easier to, you know, rescue you from middle of halfway across the Pacific somewhere. It's you go down in one of these places and you're in a lot of trouble. But anyway, that's that's what I intend doing, and yeah, look forward to talking to you next time. Okay, bye now. Ta-da.